Italian Stallion Reynor.
His opponent in the bottom left in the red for Alpha X. He is the mad scientist, Zoun.
I was gonna come in and say, call him the weeb hater instead, but
wait, what's the story on that?
what do you mean? He hates weebs.
Oh, I know.
No, here. But what we are gonna see is just a quick little hatch block, and nothing too surprising right here. What do you think the style these two players are gonna throw at their opponents is gonna be?
In all honesty, Steadfast, I don't have a great idea. There's not a lot of film available for these two players recently. Reynor does not play in the small stuff nearly as much. He does it more than Cyril. We do see the occasional EPT Cup run, things like that. And Zoun, he plays in some things. He does play in some online tournaments, particularly the ones that his teams put on. But in general, I haven't seen him play a lot of ZVP all that much, or PVZ all that much. I can tell you, though, I don't think we're going to see this big commitment to late game Stargate style from Zoun. He has always been much more of a fan of these more timing oriented and tech switching oriented plays.
He does really love the opening of two Stargate Void Ray into that ground play. Like you said, it's really strong. It's really difficult to deal with. Reynor, he is very dialed in when knowing how to deal with that. He knows when you need to get your Brood Lords out, for example, to deal with an attack like that. If it's, let's say it's, double Stargate Void Ray into carriers, into 10-gate Charge Lot Archon, just a big shove. He knows that you need to get Brood Lords out in order to deal with that, to push the Archons back, keep your Corruptors safe, get that Mass Spore Force. He has the responses down, and he's, the one thing we're going to have to note about Reynor is that he doesn't have Coach Lambo, who has necessarily been helping him out the way he did in the previous World Championship.
Yeah, we may see that change for the playoffs, assuming that Reynor does get out, which I think is a pretty safe bet. We talk about this group as who knows, and it is very much true, but there are still some favorites. Maru is one, Reynor has got to be the other, and after that, I mean, it's just an utter free-for-all. And even those players, they probably should get out. We don't know. But as you said, for now, well, the thing goes on. Void Rays are on the way. It's going to be interesting to see how Zoun transitions out of this, because I think the imperative is on Zoun's play to put a dent in the reigning world champion, actually, more than it is for Reynor to do something weird to try to catch his opponent off guard. Because, well, Reynor's absolutely, I mean, he's the reigning world champion.
Yeah, he's the one to beat. He's the one to beat. The funny thing about that is that Zest was the one to beat in his group, and everyone seems to come with something special going after Zest, and it ended up with him being the one who was targeted the most, and he ends up not making it out of his group. So in a weird sense, here Reynor not being the superstar of this group almost makes it better for him. Now, obviously, he would love to have been in, Group A, Group B, or Group C instead of this, but it means that people aren't specially preparing just for him. There are too many good players in this group. I want to note, by the way, Reynor sent his Overlord away. Zoun didn't find it. So it escaped. He, the free Overlord pickoff that you normally see Protoss players able to get didn't happen. Ooh, we are going to see this Oracle going to sneak on in past the Queens. Reynor does lose a drone, but he will stack those drones up, saves the second one.
That he will. So, second Stargate on the way. Actually, just about done. +1 air. We know that Reynor is most likely not going to walk Queens on this map. It's Blackburn. The slow zones make it really hard. It takes forever. Even if natural to natural is not bad, third base to third is far, far further. So we're going to have to see what exactly he decides to do. But for now, I mean, he does have 7 Queens. It is the Queen Walk Roach Warren timing, but the lair just about done. I would not be surprised, Steadfast, to see Reynor go into this quick Spire style that we have seen players like him and DRG and others do. And the whole point of that is to force the Protoss player to not go into carrier tech. There's too much tempo. You get a lot of mute as you move into Corruptors, but as I say that, we have +1 ranged on the way. That's not going to be the move.
Well, it could still be the quick Spire for Corruptors. It could definitely be the Corruptor play, and I would say that's the more standard way of playing. Wow, he's getting 3 Overseers. He wants to get... That is a lot of Overseers to build. He really wants to get a Scout. Nice little Revelation coming on down. Talking about creep spread in ZVT. Look at the creep spread in the ZVP. It's already hitting the halfway point. This is looking quite good. We don't think of this as a matchup where creep is the most important, but it is still quite valuable. Yeah, he really he is making sure he gets the Scout here. And we haven't seen Aspire just yet. He's continuing to build Queens. There is the potential that he goes for a Queen Walk with this +1 missile and Roach speed, Roach Ravager Queen off of a roaring economy.
Yeah, remember Steadfast, if he does that, he's pretty much going to be parroting the build, give or take. I mean, Lambo did not get +1, but closely following the build that Lambo used on this map to kill Zest last series. You get it, you make it delayed, you get maybe a couple more Queens, and then you go 6 gas, and you pound that Ravager key, which is, Reynor has 6 gas, he's mining a lot. There's got to be some reason for it. And we're going to have to see whether it is Roaches, whether it is maybe just a quick Hive transition. We're going to have to find out. But for now, Zoun on the other side, his +1 is done. He's coming out carriers 2x2, 3x3 soon once he mines enough gas for that third one. And that does mean carriers are fairly good against Queens. Any sort of Queen Walk, it may time out rather soon.
Well, it's not just that. What the big shutdown for this is, because the carriers, with their interceptor count very, very low. Ooh, he's going to scout that there's no Hive. Okay.
No big scout.
He hasn't fired up a Disruptor yet, despite the... Okay, there we go. He fires one up, but he is supply blocked here. Disruptors are going to be the big shutdown for this. The Roach Ravager Queen is going to have a really big problem dealing with that. But, oh, and he gets the Contaminate. Oh, it's a triple Contaminate build. That's what the Overseers were for. Oh, yeah. That's so sexy.
Oh, man, I was thinking, but like, no way.
Here they come.
Oh, there we go. Oh, this is going to work out so well now. There are no interceptors in this army. Okay, the carriers, actually, they're going to find the Overseers, but they're targeting the wrong ones. And now, here come the Queens marching in. It's a third base for Zoun, sure, but he's not going to be able to keep this one alive. There is too much stuff for the Italian... Wow, the Italian Zerg player storming on in. 3 carriers, sure, but their interceptors are not going out at the same time. So the interceptors, they're just dying Steadfast. There's only 1 on the field. It's all about the board raise, and I'm not sure that there's enough to make that happen just yet. The Roaches, Ravagers still piling on in. At least Zoun has a gold base to respond with, but you gotta remember, Steadfast, this happened last game, and just because there's the gold base does not mean that it stays alive.
No, it will not stay alive, and I don't think Zoun is going to stay alive in this game. Finally, the Disruptor starts off, but what a cool build from Reynor, coming in so well prepared for this group. I said, man, maybe I'm a little worried. He doesn't have Professor Lambo, but Professor Reynor has arrived with those Overseers. First Disruptor is finally going to hit the field, but Reynor's got a Spire behind this. He's maxed out. He will eventually get cleaned up here, I think. But even then, it's not going to be cheap.
I mean, Steadfast, we have 61 army supply for Zoun, but a solid 32 of it, and just has no value. The interceptors, they're not there. These carriers, there might as well be paper, maybe a meat shield, as we're going to see the Zerglings run on top of things, try to get on top of this Disruptor, but of course, well, shield battery is going to go down, and again, Zoun is supply block. It is just this Disruptor that can make things happen, and Reynor, he is absolutely powering up. Corruptor's on the way, because eventually maybe you want to deal with that. But Reynor can build whatever the hell he wants at this point. It is 4 bases to do. He has the gold. Disruptors are going to be nice, of course, but he might even want to remove these Queens. There are a lot of supply that are not going to be quite as efficient at killing this Skytoss army as the masses and masses and massive amounts of Corruptors that will be coming out from the Italian Stallion.
Yeah, you know what? Reynor's actually, he wants to lose these Queens. He would love to kill 1 or 2 carriers or 1 or 2 Void Rays, but like you said, it is the Corruptor transition that is going to put this game on ice. We've got the Infestation Pit coming down. That could have been a lot quicker. I will say that that's the one thing that I would have liked to have seen from Reynor. Even, that's the only difference. Everything else, immaculate. Absolutely and utterly immaculate. He's going to come on over here, checks on the gold base. I mean, it's not retaken. This should be over. This should be over, barring a massive blunder from Reynor. He is going to take a 1-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, I guess really the only downside for Reynor, and we can't really call it that, is that Vile's going to miss, is he has so much Roach and so much Ravager, which is not all that useful anymore. It's a good ground defense. And oh, nice move here from Zoun, actually, on the flank. That is a massive shot. I'm not sure how much of a difference it does make, especially as people see at least one of these disruptors go down. Actually, it's going to be both. But that cuts the army of Reynor on the map in half. And it does mean that Zoun should be able to keep this third base alive. And Steadfast, this is +1 carriers. Maybe there's going to be something, but oh, look at the Corruptor running in now. Nothing pops out. The Corruptor's just going to kill it off. We're going to see one Void Ray go down. He still has to be a little bit careful. Wait, the Void Rays, they were attacking their own base for a second, just trying to get the interceptors out on the carriers, I guess. Third base under pressure, as now the carriers, they have arrived. Corruptor's got to run back for a second, pick off a random Void that gets a little bit too big for its britches. But again, Reynor, he can trade as poorly as he wants. He has the money to do it.
Well, maybe not as poorly as he wants, but this is looking extremely good for Reynor right here. He's on the +1 air weapons. He doesn't quite have the critical mass of Corruptors to end things yet. We are going to see Prismatic Alignment getting popped on the 2 remaining Void Rays. He is coming in, sniping off Void Rays. There's only 5 remaining right now, and just transfuse up these Queens, wait for another round of Corruptors, and I think that is going to be lights out. Reynor, though, he might chill for a little bit. He doesn't really need... Oh my god, another huge disruptor shot. 9 kills and 2 kills. Oof. Okay, well, that's... I mean, that's good, but once again, is it that meaningful? Not really. Not that meaningful at this moment.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Reynor was actually pretty far ahead in resources lost after that initial push. It was such a cool timing. But we're starting to see Zoun's trade a lot better. In fact, I believe after that last disruptor shot, yeah, he's got about 1,000 resource lead, and not enough to make up for the fact that Reynor is up 3 bases on him, including a gold, but maybe enough to secure his 4th base. Maybe enough to say, hey, Reynor, back up just a little bit, but there's a reason that Reynor has backed up. We have Vipers on the way. Hive Tech is done, and the only thing that is keeping Zoun in this game is disruptor control. Well, Vipers, they're the counter to that.
They certainly are. They certainly are. And you know what? Zoun stays alive. He stays alive. He's on a big army supply still. He's doing quite well. I do like the transitions from Reynor, but this is why I wanted to see the Hive faster. Is this game might already be over by this point if he'd had these Vipers already. Now it's, we are going to see the disruptors. Huge shots coming into the slow zone. Going to kill all the Queens right here. Massive blunder from Reynor right there. But here comes the Vipers and the Corruptors. Ling's getting it on top of one of those disruptors. Carrier going to get yoinked on in. Another one, and instantly goes down. We will see a couple more abducts coming on in. Boom goes the Carrier. All the Queens fall, but this is still a big lead for Reynor. He lost a lot of Queens there, but he's still got a massive, massive lead in this game. Ultralisk transition coming on in. Zoun, though, he's up to 4 bases now. Oh, Reynor. Ling run by.
Yeah, Steadfast, you talking about the Zerglings. Well, Reynor, he doesn't need to put 30 in your main base. He can find just enough damage with 3. And it's kind of funny, actually, looking at that last battle report, we see Reynor losing so many minerals, almost no gas. Zoun losing not a lot of minerals, but a whole hell of a lot of gas. And look at what Reynor is doing behind this, finding another way to break his opponent. Now it's time for the ultras. Now it's time for the ground upgrades. They're going to be able to punch in, and the disruptors, again, yes, they do spell damage, but they don't do enough to one-shot ultras, and with only 2 on the field, it's a bit of a problem. It really is all about the Void Rays right now, as we're going to see the Corruptors try to take the 4th base down. Roaches into the 3rd. Nice split for now, and actually Shield Battery Overcharge is doing enough maybe to keep this safe, but now the Corruptors have turned it all on. They've warmed up. And there we go. GG. Finally, Zoun can hold no longer. Reynor takes game 1.
What an anticlimactic end to a game that was over 6 minutes ago. But to be fair to Zoun, he was making it look close. He was making it look closer than it had any business looking. Still, well done right there by Reynor, and he finds himself with a 1-0 lead. But I gotta say, that was a scary victory, if that makes sense for Reynor, you know?
Yeah, it really was. He could have gone and, well, maybe actually finished with that Hive. But I'm starting to look at this, and it's like, well, he gets 1 good shot. Okay, fine, whatever. He's still massively far ahead. But Zoun got 4, 5, 6 massive disruptor shots. And suddenly, it means he's established his 4th base. Suddenly, most of the anti-air is gone. If he just found some way to deal with the Corruptors, he would have been right back in that game, but he was missing about probably 1 to 2 fights before he really was fought back into it. And Reynor says, okay, fine. I'll give you the 5. I won't give you 6 and 7. Let's go to game 2.
Yeah, it's true. We are going to be seeing, by the way, 2,000 atmospheres for game number 2. I'm excited about this one. It's going to be a pretty good match, but it also is the kind of map that you can turtle quite effectively. Not as well as Blackburn, but you can still turtle it quite effectively. I wonder if we'll see another attempt with that triple overseer. That was so cool. That was so cool out of Reynor. Excellent preparation. Really, really well done.
Yeah, it very much depends, I think, on the style that Zoun wants to play. That build that he did with the carrier into disruptor is predicated on having 1 to 2 disruptors to hold the initial shenanigans from a Zerg player. I mean, granted, that build from Reynor is new. It's a weird timing to move in with so many more queens and so many more ravagers later on compared to the standard queen walk. But even still, there are timings that Zergs can hit around that time. So you get disruptors out. You make sure you don't die to that one. If Zoun goes for something maybe just a little bit different, maybe we don't see that. We don't see the corruption build. Maybe we don't see it be quite as effective. But for now, we're going to have to find out. Reynor has returned from his break. We're going to get into game 2 in just a second. We're going to have to see whether Zoun has some ability to find his way back into this series, or whether it's going to be Reynor with the predicted 2-0.
Yeah. Once again, gotta say, it was a strong showing in defeat. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Zoun. I think he can definitely have a decent chance here. And after looking at this, yeah, I'm not counting him out of this group. That is for sure.
Yeah, he looked scary on his attempt to hold, but we're gonna have to see whether maybe he can reach the mid game, reach the late game at a lead, or even instead of just massively far behind and steadfast. Game number 2 here. It is Reynor, it is Zoun, and we're right into it.
And his opponent spawning up at the top right. Representing Clash, it is the reigning world champion. Give it up for Reynor. Looking swole.
And his opponent looking for a new build, something to fight the might of the Italian Stallion for Alpha X, Zoun.
Now, we are going to be seeing the hatch block. No surprise. It's what you expect in this matchup. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see anything different. I expect it's going to be double Stargate Void Ray once more. It's just how you play this matchup right now. It's the strongest way to play it for a very good reason. Despite the fact that the Queen Walks have been effective in this tournament, it's not because Queen Walks are unholdable. It's because there's a little something extra on them. So, for example, Lambo versus Zest. He went for that gold base. He went for the no layer. He went for an insanely strong economy and a complete bamboozle, and Zest fell for it. Didn't respect the Queen Walk anywhere near enough. Didn't get that quick disruptor setup that we saw Zoun go for in game number 1. And then, of course, in game number 1 for Zoun, he went for the disruptors, but we had Reynor countering that with the triple overseer, which was such a brilliant move.
It really was. As you said, Zoun, he gave the respect it deserved, but even still, Reynor says, let me turn this up 1 level higher. But 2,000 Atmospheres is not a map with a gold base. It is not a map that has that expectation of safety quite to the level that Blackburn does. Again, you do not Queen Walk on Blackburn for the most part. It's just too hard to do. So we're going to have to see whether that impacts the way Reynor wants to play. It's much more walkable for a standard one on this map, but unlike some other Zergs, Reynor is not one of those players I really think of that does some sort of Queen Waddle every single game. When I think of his more modern, his more recent ZVP, actually, it is that Spire style. I think I've actually seen, I've seen some other stuff too. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Reynor adapts to this lead in the series. Does he go for something maybe a little bit cheeky because he does have this 1-0 lead? Or do we just kind of see the same thing once again? The build did work.
Oh, it definitely did. It definitely did, and it put him into a great position in the game and in the series overall. Now, we're seeing a little bit of a switch up here from Zoun. He's going to be going for an Oracle here. No Void Ray just yet. I am really hoping that he is going to play some ground Protoss right here. There's the Void Ray, damn it. Well, it's going to be Oracle first, so he's going to be looking for damage. Reynor didn't keep his Overlord around. Once again, sends it all the way to the bottom right. Really wants to make sure he doesn't lose anything, and I do like that. We did see, oh my god, the Adept got a creep tumor somewhere. Where did that happen?
Yeah, one thing we have noticed from Zoun's play in game number 1, he was actually doing a fairly focused job on denying creep spread, far more than we see most Protoss players do, spending Revelations, using Void Rays to knock it down. A nice Oracle micro to start this game. 3 will go down. We're gonna have to see whether he can get any more later, and of course behind this, third base on the way. Folks, you know what the build is. +1 air, second Stargate coming down soon. That's not the novel thing. We're gonna have to see whether he does anything off of that, but as he's opening up the same way he did in that last game, Reynor, he has the opportunity to do the same, and certainly he's setting himself up for it with this creep spread.
He sure is, and I love this right now from Reynor. Going to be getting this Zergling to provide high ground vision. He doesn't want his creep spread to be slowed at all. Oracle, oh, he should go for the creep tumor snipe. It's worth. Oh, he's not going to go for it. Even just seeing this creep, though, should raise massive alarm bells that my opponent is, well, that they're planning something untoward, and it involves queens, and it involves a little stroll across the map. Not guaranteed. Reynor doesn't have to go for it, but it opens up the option. Oh, there we go. He is going to get the snipe on this creep tumor here. Nice job from the Protoss player.
And one of the scary, yeah, again, look at how much attention Zoun is playing. He doesn't get enough creep tumors, unfortunately. He only gets the 2, but look how much attention he is paying towards denying the vision, denying the aggression of Reynor just by removing this creep. Steadfast, you talked about how good Reynor's creep spread has looked in practice sessions. The rumors from the pros, Zoun very clearly paying attention to that same rumor and really focusing on it. But for now, actually, with the additional gas getting added, it looks like he's going to go for the same build. So keep an eye out for... Wait, actually, yeah, he's got Overlord speed. Keep an eye out for those Overseers, Steadfast. We may see the same thing.
Exactly. That's that Overlord speed that he got in the previous game. 3 Overseers coming down once again. And Zoun, I don't know, he needs to prevent this if he's going to go for this Robotics Bay and the Quick Disruptors, which is going to be his method of choice dealing with this. Now, he did slow down the creep spread significantly. Reynor forced to go around the rocks instead of going over them. But that is still this is still going to be an extremely scary push. Ooh, look at this. Void Ray. It's going to take, that takes 8 hull damage. That's not a big deal. Oh, but he loses the Oracle. Oh, he F2'd it back. Oh, my. Down. Come on.
No.
No F2.
So, okay, Fleet Beacon is on the way. Effectively, this is the exact same build from game number 1. And if we see Reynor do something similar, I almost feel like instead of going into the disruptor play, which, by the way, does work. And in fact, we don't have Overseer. Oh, no, sorry. I missed it. We do have the triple morph. So they're building energy somewhere on the map right now. Are they on the... Yeah, there they are. Reynor, he's doing it again. And I think if that's going to be the case, we need to see Tempest coming out here from Zoun, not the carrier play, because Tempest can actually get him up to 5, can deal with these queens in relatively short order. But look at this, though. The Void Rays, they're aware of this. They're patrolling where the Overseers are going to come from, but they're just maybe a little bit out of position now.
That they are. We are seeing more static defenses coming down. 5 cannons and 2 shield batteries coming down in the main and the natural. Queens are going across the map. The Observer does see what's going on, and it is that Tempest add-on. The Overseer will drop its first Contaminate, stops the second Disruptor, but there's already one on the field, and that could make things very, very difficult for Reynor. Oh, it's moving very far forward. He is really going to try and get a connection here. Does get on connection on 5 queens. A lot of transfuse energy immediately being blown right there. Reapplication on the Contaminate will come on down, but he denies the 3rd Contaminate. That is good.
That it is. And here's the big reaction as well from Zoun. Tempests are on the field. One already here. We're going to see him up to 4 in a second. And while Zoun may lose... Oh, that's another big shot. Actually, let me rethink that. Zoun, he may not even lose the third base now, but even if he does, he should be able to keep this army alive, and Reynor's tech is very low. He does not have a Spire. It is just the Queens. And again, the Disruptor lot shot landing center mass. We have Tempest on the high ground. Third base does look like it's still going to go down, but one more shot, 2 more shots on these Queens are going to knock it down. Zoun has long been the master of the Disruptor in South Korea, and Steadfast, he is showing us absolutely why he is in this game number 2.
He sure is. He will lose the third base, but we see this applies right now. They're actually favoring the Protoss player. He's lost almost no Sky units, just that Oracle from earlier. The Tempest gonna help him clean up here. Look at the adaptation from game number 1 to game 2. Amazing stuff coming out of the Protoss player. But now, I gotta say, Reynor looks very dead on his feet. He is trying to get up into the hive, and he will start that just now, starting up an Infestor. Infestor, he's going to start up Spore Crawlers, but this looks extremely scary for the Italian Zerg.
That it does. We're sitting at 3 Disruptors, 5 Tempests, and that is the story of this. These Queens, these Ravagers, they have to be very careful. They're just going to get annihilated, removed from this map, and that is the defensive utility that Zoun has. Meanwhile, though, we do have a Zergling run by from Reynor again. We talked about his Zergling control, finding significant value here. But in all honesty, so long as Zoun is able to knock down the 4th base, as so long as he's able to make something there. Okay, Investors are going to show themselves. That's big. Zoun knows he needs to be afraid of it now, but they don't have energy set fast. There's a timing still before Zoun really has to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. It was no pathogen glands, just straight up to those Infestors. He wants a Microbial Shroud. He wants the potential of fungal growth if those Void Rays get too close to spores. And you know what? Reynor, I was saying he feels like he's dead on his feet, but he survived a very scary moment, and there is a very critical upgrade missing for Zoun right now. Just now starts up the +2 air. He could have started this up quite a while ago, but these Zerglings, they forced the recall. Reynor holds, and he could turtle this one out a little bit. He could definitely send this to the late game.
Absolutely. There's a reason that the Dark style has become so popular, because it allows the Zerg to get safely into maybe a mass spellcaster style, lots of corruptors, whatever you want to go for. That's exactly what Reynor is doing. He has 13 Queens. He's going up to 16 on the map, but Steadfast. Oh, look at that. He's going to be able to cancel the 5th base as well. This style that Reynor is going for is extremely fragile. It is reliant on perfect spellcasting to make sure that you survive, to make sure your Queens stay alive, to make sure that every single fungal and parasitic bomb lands as it needs to. And I love this from the Alpha X Protoss. He says, okay, I have this air army. It's powerful. I know Reynor is reacting to this because he needs to stay alive. Let me drop down 6 gateways, +1 ground, charge on the way. This army that Reynor has is not great at the moment, but he already knows what's going to happen. So Greater Spire, Ultra Cavern, they're both on the way.
They are. And the Ultra Cavern has completed. It was going to allow him to bridge the gap towards Broodlords if he so needed to build the Ultras. But upon not seeing any push from the Protoss player, he's got vision of a lot of important paths on the map, holding both watchtowers and good creep spread in the middle. He knows that his opponent wasn't pushing, so he's going to be able to get up to the Greater Spire. He's adding on a ton of spores right now. He's got basically almost all the components he needs for a late game army to deal with that highly powerful Protoss force. But what he doesn't have is an army that deals very well with ground.
Yeah, actually, the question though, we don't have a Warp Prism with this army, which means that a lot of the strength of the style that Zoun goes for, where you wipe out a lot of stuff and then you just mass reinforce. Fungal, oh, that's a big fungal. Wait a minute. Here, Steadfast, you gotta be careful. Fungal parasitic bomb. He's got 1, he's got 2, but it's not gonna be the 3rd Disruptor shot, actually. It's gonna get the last of these Infestors, but still, man, these Void Rays are so damn low. Zoun, I don't think he can take this fight anymore.
He certainly shouldn't try. He's going to eat another parasitic bomb. 2 Void Rays instantly going down. Great split, but he loses a 3rd as well. I was looking at the Broodlords because I'm like, oh man, he needs to hit these Broodlords. I assumed the feedbacks would be good, but He doesn't cast the feedbacks, doesn't have his High Templar well positioned. He stepped down to creep without an observer. Reynor got free vision of that entire army, hit the spellcaster wombo combo, and now I would say all of Zoun's lead is gone. He just threw it away with a huge amount of damage from those spellcasters. Great management from Reynor, really understanding what he needed to do to try and survive in this game and come back.
Yeah, and the problem is this army that Zoun has, he took so much damage to his hull that even if this army is able to survive the push, it's just always going to be weaker from now on. Feedbacks on the Queens are going to try to do something, but really that was targeted for the Interceptors. It's just going to go for it. Great feedbacks, actually. All the Vipers only get one abduct. It's going to be one carrier going down, but you will trade that for the Vipers not be able to do too much anymore. Void Rays, turn on Prismatic Alignment. Oh no, the High Templar, they're running forward. They're taking so much damage. They got to get back. We're going to see the Disruptors get targeted down as well. Zoun losing far too much in this game for that push that did not work.
And what a great set of defensive spellcasting right there from Reynor, initially getting the fungal growth. We did see the Broodlords popping over to that right side just in time to push the High Templar back. You saw Zoun was looking for some storms. He was looking for connections with those units to get some storms, to get some feedbacks. Ends up losing a couple units. Reynor is doing an excellent job of dragging this game out. And I gotta say, I'm starting to get worried for the Protoss player. In all of these fights as we've headed into the late game, Reynor has looked far superior.
Yeah, Steadfast, the one thing I will say, Zoun, he is actually missing Storm. It is not done. It has not been researched.
Oh, no.
Which is I don't know that it's a mistake. Sometimes we do see late games styles like this skip Storm. You just go for the feedbacks. But certainly, if Zoun thought he had it, if that's why the High Templars ran forward, well, that's a big deal. I think, again, more likely he was just looking for the feedback. But we do have Zoun. He's on 5 bases. He's on 10 gas, rounding out that tech composition. And Reynor, for everything that is happening, has been extremely outspoken about his dislike for late game PvZ. Skilless, in the last couple ESL Open Cups that Reynor played against, took him in the late game and beat him every single time. And while Reynor is looking at a much higher level than he did in those EPT Open Cups, he does seem to struggle against this style. So nice abduct, though. We will see. Actually, the Tempest will go down. I feel like at this point, the Tempest maybe not as useful, although Broodlords are on the field, so you're always going to find some value. But look at this, though, Steadfast. We have a mothership on the way. And Protoss have started to learn how to use this a little bit better. No longer is it just, let me cloak my army into -400, -400. We see a lot of Korean Protoss putting it on the edge of the map, using recalls to yank their opponent all over the place in a way that Zerg cannot respond to and find an advantage that way.
And yeah, that's the big danger. The -400 meme lives because Protoss players, like you said, they've mishandled the mothership a lot. They don't really understand its true potential. And the true potential is you recall into your opponent's main base, you set up on the ramp, kill the hive, kill all the tech, and then just recall out with the Nexus recall, because those are not a shared cooldown. We're going to see some nice corrosive vials here. Man, the army complexity right now for Reynor is so insanely high. So many players don't even want to touch this. Think about all the abilities you have. You got Parasitic Bomb, you've got Transfuse, you've got Fungal Growth, you've got the Corrosive Bile. There's so much to handle in this army. Meanwhile, Zoun, he is going to go for the Disruptors here. Mothership is going to show up with the army. We have a little skirmish on the left side. A couple Ultras getting synchronized death right there. Something a little bit messed up. Finally, that Storm will come on down. Archon does go down, but with the Zealot Warp in, he's going to be able to push this back. It's just a skirmish on the left side.
Yeah. Certainly, though, a skirmish.
Oh, wow. How did 2 of those Corrosive Biles hit in the most random locations? It's actually going to be somewhat impactful.
Now we can say, oh, man, he has the skirmish, but just skirmish the Protoss will win, but not now, not with the Biles, not maybe going a little bit too far on creep. But on the flip side, oh, nice feedbacks there. He's on top of things. On the flip side, though, well, those are units that I'm not sure that Zoun really wants a ton of, as the Storm is, of course, done. Oh, nice fungal, but it's going to be fine. Feedback is going to trade its life for the High Templar. And look at what Zoun is doing here. Okay, actually, no, that's the army. He's not taking the rich gold or the rich gas base just yet. But instead of making this a game across the map, Zoun has turned this into a game that is linchpinned, excuse me, centered around this one spot on the right-hand side. Disruptors will get abducted, and well, Broodlord is going to kill that up pretty quickly. but because he's centralizing it right here, his powerful Deathball army does make it a little bit harder for Reynor to take the engage. But of course, as he hides behind Spore as well, it's hard for the Protoss to find their way in anyways. As the Bailings run in, all the static defense is going to come down. Not going to get on top of any probes, of course. But still, that means it's going to be so much easier later on for Reynor to find some value.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for that. Zoun is definitely going to have to rebuild those static defenses. Even, I mean, he's got a huge bank. Both players are getting into a massive bank, in fact. We do have the additional Broodlords morphing on in. How many Broodlords do we have right now? Only 3, so he really needs enough to deal with this late game army. Oh, a bit of a mistake right there, leaving the Disruptor very exposed. You've mentioned the feedbacks have been on point, and that is so crucial. And that is the reason why the last, I would say, 2 fights have gone pretty decently for Zoun relative to the previous fights. I was so excited. I was like, nope, the mothership's with the army still. I was like, wow, the mothership's on the left side. No, it's just a war prism. But it could warp in a lot of zealots and be a problem.
Yeah. Looks like we got another push into Zoun's left base here. And again, we see the lack of static defense causing a problem. Immortals and Archons are going to fall down, but this buys time for the cannons to show up. And now, hey, we're truly into late game. Invisible men have arrived. It's going to be much harder for Reynor to push in without some detection. But oh, that's actually a big pickoff. Losing these oracles makes it so much harder for Zoun to take the fight. And well, the DTs, they overcommitted. So they're dead. That's a lot of gas.
Yeah, I don't like DTs at all, actually, in the late game. Like, super late game, once you're up to the point where the Zerg has full complexity of their army, it's such a huge amount of gas. Like you said, that was, what, 5 DTs?
Yeah, something like that.
5 DTs, that's a whole lot of gas right there. 625 gas. Meanwhile, Zerglings are going to... Wait, is it... Yeah, they're going to run in on at this right side base. The DTs will be nice defensively, but that's way too many cracklings coming in. We are going to see, the mothership does get abducted, but will not get picked off. Nice time warp right there to cover the retreat.
That's a huge storm as well. All the Corruptors going down to half HP, but Reynor's Lings, you talked about him before the series even started. He's finding value now. A base will go down. Fungal on top of this army once again, but there are no Vipers here. It looks like to really make up for it. Queen spending a lot of their energy in the fight. Broodlords can't really engage because the Tempests are still here. Queen's falling as well. It feels like Reynor, he got a base, but Zoun is going to be able to find a way in as well. And I don't think Reynor's run by is going to be able to get it again with this number of DTs on the bottom side. Reynor taking the negative in that fight. And now, he will knock the pylon down. The DT's not quite where they need to be just yet. It's kind of turning base trady. This is interesting.
Yeah, we got the Protoss players playing extremely greedily on these outlying bases. Nowhere near enough static defenses. We saw on the left side he had plenty, but he's going to lose 2 Nexi and even an attempted rebuild on the third one for all of this. This is... I mean, it was a really good fight for Zoun. There wasn't enough Spores here. Wasn't enough Broodlords. He got some big storms of the Corruptors. But it's... I don't know. This was not to play. And now he's forced to recall. Reynor's going to start to get some, I would say, good eco leads as a result of it. Fortunately for Zoun, he does keep that base in the bottom right alive. But the worker count for both players is abysmal.
Yeah, Steadfast, I feel like that recall may have actually been something that Zoun wanted to do anyways, because, well, he knocked off the bases on the northwest side. So there's that base that he's been fighting over for a while on the right. Maybe he's going to be able to find his way in there. Certainly denying the rich gas base, but one of these timings when we look at late game ZVP is when the Zerg gets to 3-3 air. It makes these ultras so flippin' hard to deal with without insane storms. Fungal again is going to land, but not to the level that he needs it to. Broodlord's running forward, but man, Reynor, he has 2 armies. Because he's down at only 41 workers, he has these Lings and these Ultras that are so hard to deal with small amounts of Protoss army, especially now that Overseers are with it. 11 more probes die. Zoun, he's barely mining.
Yeah, he's not mining from that newest base that he saved, so the recall... you're right, it allowed him to reposition his army, but he hasn't done anything yet with that yet. Reynor, he is now going to come in and knock out another base potentially on the left side. The worker count, we're not used to seeing the Protoss struggle in terms of economy at this point, but Reynor has knocked his opponent's economy down. Storms are going to come on in, but the Broodlords will get all of the High Templar taken on down. I believe Mothership does get abducted out of here. No more cloaking field, and it is just Void Ray Carrier versus the heavily sky Zerg setup right here. There's still some no energy, no Vipers left, and now the ground transition coming in from Zoun. but he doesn't have the money for it, really.
Now it's steadfast. Zoun has broken Reynor in this game. Look at the supply. The bank of Reynor, it's gone as well. Stalkers down below, and we're gonna see the Corruptors try to jump on top of this. We need to see the Stalkers do something. The Archon actually gonna sit beneath them as well. So it looks like Zoun, he's gonna get a base. These Corruptors cannot really fight nearly as well as they would like. And in the meantime, the DT harass knocks another base down. Zoun was not mining. Neither is Reynor. And look at the banks. No one has any money anymore. If we look at army value, Zoun's is massively more expensive.
And there are no spellcasters here for the Zerg army. We are going to see a Corruptor. Corruptor dive in, going for the snipe. Observer does get picked off, and that means he's not going to be able to pick off Creep anymore, which will give free vision to Reynor. And that's actually going to be very beneficial. He's going to take the fight with the Ultralisks. There's not a whole lot of units in the air, but the Storms are pretty good on the Corruptors. And now I don't think there's an answer to the air units, but the Corruptors will do pretty well against just carriers, but it's not enough. Reynor, he cleans up the ground army and can't deal with the carrier Tempest. Just before 3-3 air finished on up, we are going to see Zerglings finding this base on the right side. The base in the middle, this is so close, but Reynor, he's going to be forced to tap out. No anti-air. He can't beat the carriers.
Zoun, by the skin of his teeth, takes down the reigning world champion, the man who rode a ZVP to a victory last year in, honestly, one of the games of the day. 24 minutes coming down to, what, 1-2 carriers, and that's it? My God, what a last fight there for Zoun. Just not enough anti-air, and Steadfast, I can't believe it. But we're going to game 3.
That we are. This is very impressive, and Reynor, I know he gets very frustrated by this late game ZVP setup, but it is worth noting, he went into that very far behind. He was in a really tough position. He did basically equalize with, I would say, Zoun kind of overcommitting on the... Yeah, I would say he overcommitted into the attack and didn't have vision, allowed his opponent to get incredible spell casting in that first fight, but he was able to more than make up for it with the performance throughout the later stage of that game. Very, very close. 80 supply to 75 at the very end. Man, that was wild.
That it was. And now we're going to wait for... Okay, we had the lobby. Oh. Game 3 lobby is up. Somehow, Steadfast, Pride of Altaris snuck through the pool.
That is a little bit surprising. I gotta say, we are going to be seeing I think we're going to see a gold base out of maybe both players. Oh man. Yeah, I'm really curious. And the concept of gold base powered Queen Walk is insanely strong. Insanely strong. And even with how well the Protoss player did defending that Queen Walk in game number 2, it's a different beast if you go for that. And if you don't contest the gold base, Reynor can just play it and be ahead. We saw that he was very competent. And if he'd managed, I think, to keep that base in the top center alive, could have maybe gotten out just enough Corruptors to be able to take the engagement at the very end. It was so down to the wire.
That it is. The downside, maybe, if there is a downside of this map, is gold bases do mine out pretty quickly. And if you're able to find a strong defensive position, Pride of Altaris is extremely choked up. There are multiple levels. We have seen some, very few, but some PVZs where you just start to see it run out of steam, because with that gold base taken early, you effectively see the Zerg mine out of 2 bases at the same time. And then they just don't have any money anymore. It becomes really problematic. But again, that's the minority of things. Normally, we just see the Queen Walk absolutely hammer through. We're going to have to see whether that is going to happen now as game number 3, Zoun versus Reynor. It's ready.
And here we go, spawning up the top left, representing Clash. It is Reynor.
And the bottom right, in the red, tied up in this series for Alpha X, Zoun.
And we are going to be seeing something for this matchup. I think it is going to be that double gold base setup right here. Reynor, though, he's going to go gas pool before taking the gold. This is very interesting. Okay, so we might see the red Protoss player. There's a couple options here. You can go for double gateway, which I don't think we're going to see, but it is possible, and try and get out a couple of depths, maybe chrono boost some zealots. This is something Hero likes trying. Or you could drop a forge, go for a one base all in, or you could do this, which is a high ground one base expand to your own gold. And if that's going to be the case, I worry very much about a Ling Bane bust on that gold, or even just a Speedling bust on that gold base.
Well, Steadfast, we saw almost this exact scenario in GSL Super Tournament in Game 7 of Dark versus Zest, and Zest was able to take that through some insane micro. He killed the Lings. He was fine. But still, this is Reynor versus Zoun. These are two vastly different players, and Reynor, he scouts it extremely early. He's going to get Zerglings across the map. Too sweet.
Yeah, this is going to be incredibly scary. I am amped for this build. This is going to be pretty awesome right here. We do see the full wall on the ramp of Zoun. It's unsurprising. You want to make sure you don't have to deal with it. Funnily enough, the pylon is actually a little bit exposed right here, so maybe if Reynor sends, a couple units over there, could occupy part of Zoun's attention, but I don't think he's going to be thinking about that at all. He is thinking all about this gold base. And the shield battery will not be able to start up here. Ling speed is closing in very quickly. Adept is going to try and get on over here. Oh, and these two Zerglings are going to come up here and will occupy at least the second Adept for a little while. This is looking scary.
Well, he does buy maybe enough time to at least get the shield battery started. And look what Zoun's doing behind this. It's going to be a quick Twilight. Most likely for Glaives, just to withstand the Ling pressure that he knows is on the way. And there is a timing now where Zoun can actually be in a very nice spot because Reynor is committing to this. Yeah, you don't need as many drones as you do otherwise. Oh, the Adept got to be very careful. Wedge itself into a corner, and he's actually going to get a lot of surface area on it. Reynor is, but that is just in time for the shield battery to complete. And so that means this Adept's going to last a whole hell of a lot longer. Second shield battery, though, is not going to go up, but already a bunch of Zerglings have gone down. This game, it's all about this base.
It is, and there's no recall. He can't get more Adepts over here. It's just down to the 2. The second shield battery being sniped is very, very problematic. We are going to see a nice probe movement here, but Zoun will lose that second shield battery. No cancel once again. First shield battery is basically out of energy. Stalker will show up. Great positioning from the Protoss player, and he will hold for the moment, but this is still a little bit dicey. Reynor is droning out of this, though. Ooh, and we're going to see a Dark Shrine behind this. Meanwhile, Zerglings will get into the main base. Warp Gate does complete. And a good defense right here. If he'd rallied that to the wrong side, that could have been a real problem.
Yeah. Steadfast, it seems like Zoun, at least for the moment, has gotten away with the gold base. Reynor was really, excited, interested, and making sure that that third base does not get up. And now, yeah, sure, okay. You don't need as many drones as you would otherwise need. You have a little bit more leeway in your larva count to build Lings early. But Zoun, because he has the gold, that matters a whole lot less. And now Reynor, he spent a lot of money on these Lings.
Yeah, he is still up in drones, though, and he has his own gold base. So economically, he's still in a very solid spot. The main issue is these Dark Templar. His lair just started. He does not have a read on DTs. This is a game that has gotten to a state that players are not familiar with. And Reynor told me you need to have a response to everything you play against. And this is the kind of situation where there's going to be a little bit more wildness. But look at the read from Reynor. He will drop the spores. 3 DTs, where are they warping in? Yeah, okay, they are warping in on the left side.
Yeah, but Steadfast, this is, if anything, this is like the build we saw Zest do to Lambo. DT, sure, you find them in, you get some damage. Oh, wonderful, absolutely, please give me that. But behind this, it's all going to be about the charge. And oh, he's actually going to get an Immortal, so maybe even a little bit more committed here. And if, oh wait, there's no Spore in the natural Steadfast. Yes, the lair is almost done. I almost expected to see Zoun just commit on that, kill the base off, but no, he's going to find his way into the main. And actually, as much as there's detection, there's no army here. And wait, okay, well, the lair is done, so targeting the Spore down doesn't really matter. 4 workers go down immediately as the army of Reynor, it was running across the map. Now it's going to have to run on home. The Archon, it's gonna recall out everything that Zoun wanted to force Reynor back. It's gonna work out for him, as now charge is just about done. More and more gateways getting added. Although actually we're only on 3. I expected to see more here, and this is now getting scary for Zoun.
Yeah, Reynor's doing an all-in into an all-in, though. If Zoun can survive for just a little while, which I think should be able to go, have battery overcharge available. He's going to have this War Prism out, which is going to allow him to heal things up. Oh, the Pylon will just barely survive in time for the War Prism to pop out. But that is 2 gateways that are depowered. Not a lot of production, only 3 gateways active. Reynor harrying the back of this army. The battery overcharge, where is it? He hasn't used it yet.
Oh, and like half that army is not fighting at any given time because of this surround that Reynor has built for himself. And now we're gonna see Biles drop down on the second one. You had to shield battery overcharge when you had a chance, Zoun. Now there is none. A second Immortal will, or excuse me, Archon will join the fight, and it shreds Ling. Sure, Archon actually on top of everything, but I'm not sure it matters because there's no production anymore, Steadfast. No Robo, no Gateway, maybe a couple in the main, sure, but no real way to warp it in. We're gonna see Reynor just jump on top of that immediately. Archons, they're doing what they can, but they go down, and in the end of things, it's the Pride of Altaris effect. Reynor